I think our team for like this event with like Yveltal, Dialga, Grim, Cresselia, Regieleki, and Incineroar. I really think this team's really, really cool. For a few different reasons. I think it's cool that we can bait like Cresselia. We can use Cresselia as bait, sorry. And, if they want to bring their Shadow Rider to beat the Cresselia, they have to go through Yveltal, Incineroar, and Grimmsnarl to do it, which means more often than not, they'd be better off with a bunch of other mons that would be better versus those things. Honestly, I completely forgot this was happening. Yeah, it's weird. It's happening the same weekend that the Indie Regionals are happening, and Indie Regionals are happening tomorrow. Love to see a Dialga Grim. Yeah, I think that, like, Dialga Grim, I've really tried to, like, think of other leads to go for, right? I've really tried to use other leads, and I do not think that any other lead in the game at the moment in VGC gives you a better lead than Dialga Grim. You can see Benster's team right here. This guy was ranked 1493, so it looks like he lost his first game, and he lost his first game against a 1500 player. We can gauge that by what his rating is in correlation to like what he was at 1500. So it looks like he started 1500, played a game against a 1500 player, lost, and went to 1493. And that team's really good. There's 3 mons in general that are definitely using sashes potentially. So things like Regieleki, things like Shadow Rider, things like Whimsicott. So it means only one of them can have sash. I think it's realistically probably going to be on the Shadow Rider, which means we're opening up the potential for like Whims to be a switcheroo eject button and the Regieleki to be Life Orb. So if we see Regieleki, we'll respect Life Orb. If we see Whimsicott, Shadow Rider, or Whimsicott Zacian, or Whimsicott Lucky, we'll respect the Whimsicott to be eject button. But in this situation, I do think we can very narrowly get a win in this situation. Hope your games are going good today. Yo, we're going to show them all off right now. That's like Wolfie's team. He used an EYC. Could be different though. I have no idea, right? I have absolutely no idea what our opponent is going for in this game. And I wish I had an easier first round. Realistically, one of the cool things about this team is if your opponent wants to use their Shadow Rider to beat our Cresselia, which they're almost required to do, right? They're almost required to bring something to beat Cresselia. They have to go through 3 dark types to use it. And you're going to see right here, I don't know if I want to lock in my Incin, but I don't have to bring Yveltal. And I think one thing about Yveltal teams is everyone's like super excited to be the Yveltal player, the like kind of anti-meta edgelord Yveltal player. And I really think that like one of the cool things about Yveltal is everything Yveltal realistically does bring to a team preview, it does in the team preview. You don't have to bring it. Believe it or not, like just bringing in Sin and having like a mid-game fake out is super, super important, especially against Zacian teams. So we're going to go up against Benster in the first game. Got 13-2 with Reshiram Kali Ice. That's freaking amazing. Yo, that's so cool. That's amazing. I think that's really, really good because they share similar like weaknesses for the most part. Like the Pokemon that do super effective damage into each of those hit both of those really well. So that's actually really, really good. Congrats. 13-2 is good rating. Are you over 1600? So we can see Aleki and Sin. And in this situation, again, because it's a Life Orb Lucky, we're assuming from the team preview, we can assume that Lucky is probably going to max. But if it doesn't, we definitely want to just seal up the Lucky so it doesn't use Eerie Impulse. If we got Eerie Impulse here, we would definitely lose the game. If we got Parting Shot, we don't lose the game. And realistically, any Incin worth its salt should be trying to fake out our Grimmsnarl to stop it from setting screens so their Lucky could one-shot. So realistically, we're going to be trading our Dialga. Let me turn this off over here. We're going to be trading our Grimmsnarl for a Aleki and their max, which is really, really cool. Like, that's good. We definitely be taking those because remember, we brought the Incin in the back to get that mid-game fake out, which is super important. You're 1646. Congrats. That's good. That's probably top 100 right now, considering it's just day 1 of this event. So Dialga's going to max. Lexi's going to max. Like I said, I don't think that like Dialga Grim has any necessarily terrible matchups. You can kind of just play even into almost anything. So our Grim is going to be able to outspeed their Incin. We fake out their Incin. I'm surprised I didn't fake out their Lucky. Why didn't I fake out their Lucky? I definitely should have. I guess I just knew that it was orbed. I guess I just knew that it was freaking orbed and I didn't want to get like parting shotted, but I should have fake out of that Lucky. Realistically, I should have to stop Eerie Impulse. It's like Wolf's team. Okay. Well, it's not going to work for him. Like, Best case scenario, we trade and I get a +1 speed F boost and you lose your max, right? That's going to be good for me. That's like super good for me. We definitely be taking those all the way to the bank. Aleki going down. And what do you bring out in the back? Like, we have a pin here. It's super nice. For O, they got to bring their Ogre and their Lando. So looking to see what other mons make the life hell. Obvious choice is Gastro, but looking to see if there's something spicier. I think with Ho-Oh, the way that I play Ho-Oh is I build the team that super pins the things that like actually KO Ho-Oh. And then what I do is use a mixture of like Grim, Dialga, and my last mon to break the things that KO Ho-Oh and just bring out Ho-Oh in the back. That's how I like to play Ho-Oh. This is just such a good first turn, I agree. Life Orb Dialga just so insanely strong. Yeah, Life Orb Dialga is actually about as strong as like a weakness policy procced, like no attack investment Solgaleo or no attack investment or special attack investment like weakness policy mon. It's so strong. It literally one-shots everything. It literally just one-shots everything. So you can go Zacian and Sin, but you can see I have the advantage here, like, for the most part. I'm assuming that's going to be a Shucka and Sin. I'm pretty sure I went for, like, the fake out into Zacian, and I think I just Wormwind there in Sin, right? They hard switch the Sin, which is probably a good play, into Whimsicott, which is an even better play because they block my Wormwind. So, like, that's a win-win, and they use Protect. So, like, really, really good play from our opponent. In our first game, I really didn't think I would be pushed this far using a team I'm very confident with, you know? And that's the thing about Dialga. If you waste Dialga's max turns, it kind of has like a low-key Thunderous effect and Landorus effect to where like when you wait out the max turns, they're kind of like, not necessarily wet noodles, but they're a shell of their former selves once they waste their max turns. So really, really good play knowing I was going to go for that because also the Wims saves its potential sash here, which is really, really good. So let's see what happens here. Your Grim has a good amount of speed, or is it max speed? My Grim has 100 points in speed, which outspeeds the fastest Incineroar sets that I've seen tournament players use, which was 92 speed by, I think, Joe UX9 used 92 speed at a recent regional, and so I used 100 to outspeed that. So anyone that was copying Joe, we'd be able to outspeed that, and also just always know and always have, you know, confidence in our fake out. Yeah, I think that was a really, really good play by them. But then you see their board here. They switch out the Zacian, right? And in reality, like, yeah, they do have the Shuka and Sin because we went for the Max Quake in that slot. This is our last max turn. But that board right there of the Sin Wims is, like, super low power. Yes, I don't get any KOs, but, like, you don't do anything with that board. So I'm in a great spot here. This is the same Grim set you made for my Dialga Ice Patreon team. It's very similar. The only change is that this Grim uses the black glasses instead of the instead of the Berry. Just because, like, I still want to have that big defense investment so I don't take as much damage from Cali Ice. But I also want to hit a little bit harder with those black glasses, potentially boosted by Dark Aura on the Yveltal that I have. So it's really, really cool. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this Grim set. The only thing you really need to take away is that the speed stat is super important here. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to go into, I think we get the Incin off the board, right? I think we let them Tailwind and just repin. But you see I'm a little bit pinned, just a little bit. Do we go for the Wims? I don't actually remember, you know. Shouts to me not remembering what I do in games I played like 6 hours ago, right? So Tailwind Wims is completely fine. They're trying to do that so they outspeed the Aleki. But in reality, remember, they're the ones that set electric terrain. I don't realistically need to care. Yeah, great play for me here. We go for an Electro Web. We finish off the Incin because the Electro Web plus our 252 investment plus Modest Nature and Transistor Boost lets us take out the Incin and it lets us break the Wim Sash and we get the KO. So super lucky, I guess, that I hit my moves. Shouts to everyone that gifted subs, so I actually get to hit my moves. And I hit a double KO. This is really good. Can you move the computer mouse out of the picture? Yo, thank you for letting me know. I didn't even know it was there anymore. I can move it. Thank you. Thank you. Helping out the stream. So in this case scenario, we still have a relatively full health Dialga. We just go for the Trick Room even though we don't necessarily need it. And I think a Volt Switch. Basically 2 Volt Switches are going to be able to KO this, this Zacian. We knew that we might die there. We knew that we might die. There's nothing wrong with that. Sacred Sword's a super busted move. They should never give that to Zacian. And basically, you can see we do a lot with the Electric Terrain boosted Volt Switch. And then we just get to bring in like Incin, Lair Up and Intimidate, Pin with Fake Out, have a second Volt Switch. It's going to be 1-0, which we're going to update our record to. Look at us updating our record. We do be loving to see that. So 1 undefeated. And we do be taking those. So we just gotta wait for this one to end. But you can see, even if they were to like not soak the fake out, like we have the pin. Like the Lucky, even though the train's gone, it still has enough damage because we are Sash Lucky as well. Because basically this fake out is making it so this is the last turn of their Tailwind next turn. And even if the Tailwind didn't, even if we didn't get the KO, which obviously we did high roll this move right here, we will be able to like just soak the damage with our Sash or 2 mons and we're fine. Yo, Rage Potato, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. We're showing some IC games. How many games did you play? I think I played about 6. Just notice, looks like I'm not the only fan of Orb Dialga. It's the correct set. It's the correct set. Can you tell me how I can avoid the Copycat Trick Room Liepard? I always fall to this trick. The best way to avoid like Copycat Liepard and or Copycat Riolu is to use literally any, like I'm serious, any priority move, right? Anything. You can use Helping Hand, you can use Follow Me, you can use anything produced like by a Grimmsnarl, and the Riolu or Liepard will then copy that move, right? The Liepard will have a higher chance of copying anything that's not like a... So if you were to use like Liepard and you have Grim, Liepard won't copy the Grim because Liepard goes first. So you have to outspeed the base mon if you want to use a standard +1 priority move, but like a +2 or 3 priority move, something like a Protect or a Follow Me or something like that, that can actually avoid it, or like a slower fake out or something. So like I was playing against someone a little bit earlier on in a coaching game that I was playing, showing up how to use this team correctly, and they led like Riolu Solgaleo, and I just showed like, hey, what you need to do is just use like a fake out. So like fake out Grim, if you just have a fake out user, fake out stops that combo, because if they actually go for like a double protect and then next turn they want to go for like the same combo again and maybe get like a double protect with their Kali or whatever their Trick Room setter is, you can just go for a fake out again and it'll still mess up their combo. So yeah, fake out is really, really good. It's going, I was on a work call and saw the live tweet, so I had to come. Thank you so much for stopping by. Will using Protect work if you're faster? It won't work if you're faster, but if you're slower, it'll work. So if you're slower, it will work. But like any sort of priority move will usually mess it up if you're a higher speed tier than them. So like, we're going to take a look at like this team right here, right? This is a really good team, by the way. Super, super good team. We see things like Yveltal, Groudon, very, very good with potential Zard, Incin, Rilla, Zapdos. This is what I expect like most players to be doing. And I'm not going to lie, I feel really bad, like actually taking wins from JP players that like need this event to qualify for Worlds. I'm not going to lie. I feel this guy's like a really good player using a really good team, but I still have to like pay my bills and make content. So here we are. Yveltal Dialga, you know, obviously we have a great matchup here. Not like a great matchup, but like Yveltal is one of the mons that like low-key can check Dawn. If I can stick an Intimidate into the Groudon or pass a Steel Spike boost to my Yveltal, we can actually wall out that Groudon to be in a really good position. Yo, the Swish Gaming rating with a party at 8, yo. Let's go. Let's give him a shout out. Is Fake Out good in singles? I don't actually like Fake Out in singles because it's super telegraphed. The only Pokemon that can actually realistically use Fake Out in singles are Pokemon like Mineshout, or like anything that like gets Fake Out but wouldn't normally use it, so you can like steal breaking sashes on Suicide Weeds. But realistically, stuff like Persian and Ambipom, things that stab the Fake Out and have Technician, can actually get away with using it, because you would use like Fake Out into a double hit to actually KO something normal like a Garchomp or something else. Let's give a shout out though. Thank you for the raid, man. Let's give the let's do this correctly. You can see I'm kind of floundering with what I want to pick, because this is like my second game with this team ever. So it's definitely hard. But definitely will give them a follow. How was your stream? Fake Out Last Resort. Yeah, Fake Out Last Resort is definitely an option. I definitely think that it's not that great though. But definitely give them a, don't give them a follow. We have 81 people in here. It'd be cool if they got 81 follows. Haven't seen that one in ages. Yeah, I think Cress is like so good. It's an auto win versus Groudon. I think Cress is an auto win versus Groudon if you bring it correctly. It's also good versus Zacian. Like, a lot of people that didn't play before Sword and Shield, before Dynamax was a thing, Cresselia was the mon that made the game dumb. You ever play against like Dusclops or Pichu and you're like, ugh, I can't KO this thing. It's so dumb. Like, that was Cresselia, right? Like, Cresselia is just so good. So in this matchup, I think it's a good matchup, but it's hard, right? We have to hope that their Groudon's actually vested, which is what they want to be in this matchup. Because we can get the 2-shot on the Groudon, but if they're vested, that means they can't protect, which means we can abuse the Groudon slot. And if we abuse the Groudon slot, we can unlock the ability for our Regieleki to come in the back, which realistically, Regieleki should not normally come versus a mixture of like Groudon Rilla. So, it is what it is. Cress can live Astro Bros 2 with max HP alone. Yeah, Cress is like super dumb. Like, Cress is super dumb. I agree. People forget that Cress has like realistically uber stats and just doesn't need to use them. P-Blaze, Stone Fire Punch, and Shadow Claw AV Groudon. Yeah, it doesn't do that much to Cress though. Like, Cress can be built full HP defense or heavy HP defense to deal with things like Zacian and like low-key accidentally check Groudon. Like, super hard. Shadow Claw Groudon did good because it's good versus Shadow Rider, but it's not good versus Cresselia. It's not. It'll do like a third. So we go for the fake tears in the Groudon. Again, if this isn't vested, they're just dead. Even if they snarl. Like, if they're not vested, they're just dead. They pop a sub-Yveltal. Sub-Yveltal. That's nutty. I'm not just going to let them get away with that, but, like, you see how we still do over half? It's a really cool situation, because, like, even if they were to go for, like, a Max Quake and get a boost here, we still KO them, which is nice. Shiny Crest, I hunted an Ultra Moon, but never ended up doing it. Yeah, I feel that. So they get the Max Quake. Into the Grim. Grims, remember, heavy HP defense, so we're super fine here. And we're in a great spot. Our Dialga outspeeds our Groudon, who's obviously min speed to underspeed Ogres. Sub-Yveltal, never see that. I would agree. And so I'm sitting here thinking, like, do we foul play? Will that KO? It's Black Glasted, boosted by Dark Aura, but Grimmsnarl doesn't outspeed Groudon, Dialga does. So I'm sitting here thinking, like, they have to switch your Groudon out. You have to switch Groudon out. It has to switch. Yveltal can do whatever it wants. I don't even care if Yveltal snarls. It won't do anything to Grim. It really, realistically, won't do anything to Dialga. We're in a really, really good spot here. And we don't even have to break their sub yet. Taunt Yveltal is weird. Taunt Yveltal is even more weird than sub, I would say. Just it is. It's pretty weird. But they're pretty pinned. They are pretty pinned here. So you have to switch out your Groudon. Again, it sucks not one-shotting them, but like knowing that they can't protect is really, really nice. So you switch in the Rilla, and I'm like, bruh. Easy Rilla. So I think I switched out Grim this turn, right? Did I? I should switch out Grim if I didn't. Oblivion. So I didn't switch out. It's fine. I should have switched out though. Yo, how you been? I'm absolutely flawless. Grim goes down. Not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. Grim goes down. They get some healing. Pretty good spot here. And we're going to trade with their Rill. Look at this. Look at this damage, though. Look at this. Yeet. One-shot City. This isn't even a max special attack Dialga, but it is EV trained to KO most Rilla sets. So we trade 1 for 1. And if you bring out the Groudon, remember, I outspeed the Groudon with the Dialga, so we're super fine. You do still have your sub, but like, look at the mods we have in the back. Like, what are you going to do? What are you actually going to do versus my boy? So Zard comes out. Look at what we sent out to check that Zard. Oh my gosh, it's almost like I know how to flowchart this team correctly. We just go for the Electro Web. We make sure we take out the Zard. I'm pretty sure I take out the Zard here. Because we haven't, we already saw Max. So, like, I don't actually need to, like, Wormwind that. I'm thinking about going to the Yveltal. I think I checked the Zard. I should actually just go for, actually, I know what I do. I go for the Electro Web, and I go for a, I think, check into the Yveltal, because like obviously the Zard's like not doing anything important. Like what would it do? We just want to make sure the Yveltal's as weak as possible, and it's obviously not a a vested Yveltal because you use sub in this situation. They go for the Sucker Punch. I want to talk about how much damage I didn't take with that. Look how much damage. This is a Helping Hand Sucker Punch. Helping Hand Dark Aura Sucker Punch. That's the difference with my Lucky EV spread. We do not get one-shotted by those at all. Electro Web chunks this Zard. Easy chunk. Next turn we just go for Electro Web into it. The Helping Hand. Wonder how different our Dialga spreads are. I think our Dialga spreads are probably about the same. I like a 204 HP, 204 special attack with like 20 in speed. And that's about it on this Dialga. Some Dialgas I go like 76 in speed to actually capitalize off of the -1 I can get from like Electro Web or something like that. But, you know, I think that this Dialga spread's pretty normal with like about like 20-ish to 40-ish in each respective defense. Just to make sure we don't die from like Zacian Sacred Swords and like random like Ogre Spouts, like Specs Ogre Spouts. But we do be taking those out. Look at this board. The power of like literally anything we feel like using. We have to go for a Protect just to block the Helping Hand, but we can just go for the hard KO into Zard, right? So like a Helping Hand Sucker Punch would KO our Lucky, which we don't want to lose it to here. We let them hard switch out the Yveltal in for the Groudon to block the Electro Web. We're going to take up the Zard slot because we already know we outspeed it because our Lucky dropped an Electro Bond at next turn, or that turn. What international challenge is this? The Moltres one. That one already happened. This is an international challenge that's just for BP and CP for the World Championships. But this just started this Thursday. We get a free Grassy Terrain tick, and you can see they can send that Yveltal back out, and you can say, it's so weird to see people actually bring Lecky versus Groudon teams, but like, Lecky's still really good. Like, it's still really, really good. You can just like completely clean up the Pokemon like Charizard and Yveltal that make the matchup hard. So we can clean up the Yveltal, one-shot the Groudon, easy peasy lemon squeezy, and that's about it. Like, that's what you get for using Slow Groudon. I'm really like waffling in between using like Roar of Time or using Flash Cannon here. I don't want to miss my Roar of Time and get like P-Blade's double one-shot from like a crit on my Dialga. But I realistically think because it's bested Groudon, I do have to go for the Roar of Time. Flash Cannon might not do it. It's only like a, you know, 80 from like stab, and then it would go to like 120. It's not going to realistically be enough. Mine's much tankier, 176 special attack. I don't like that one. 196 special attack. I think the 204 is actually really important if you pair it with like things like a Lecky and other mons that can deal just like a little bit of chip damage. I also have like the Grim on mine, so like I have my calcs for like Fake Tears calcs as well against like Kyogre and Groudon. So that's why I have 204 special attack on mine. But you can see we're able to get these big wins, and it's pretty good. Yeah, the Spring Global Challenge plus top 60 Japanese players gets their invite to internationals. Yeah, it's for Japanese players to get invites to Worlds, but you know we still get like CP for playing, which is really 2-0 nice. Undefeated. Holy moly! You can always tell when I say that I'm undefeated in a tournament because I say undefeated in the title. So we don't go undefeated today, but it is what it is. I'm thinking of switching a different legend. I notice healing teams also take me out. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like when you play super active, if they get like one recover or like heal pulse off, you just lose. Right? You just super lose. So into this next game, you can see continue battle right here. And I always play my games like this. So we're 15-32 after 2, which is pretty good. I think that's okay. Normally you'd want to be 15-36 or 35. But look at this. I'm 15-32 matching with a 16-19. And like I'm playing this only a few hours after the tournament even started, which means this person's like 14-0 or like 13-0. They probably don't have any losses. They've won like every single game. And I think it's really important to gather like what your opponent's rating is, especially like when you play them in conjunction of like how many games you can play the tournament in. Because like at 16-19 on day 2, that's not that important. But a 16-19 a few hours after the tournament has started, that's pretty freaking high. And then when you see their team, you're like, okay, there has to be something super special and spicy about this. Otherwise, like, why would you be so high? And how do you win these games so fast? right? It's crazy how many like wins this person actually had with this team. I do think that like Xerneas is super underrated in best of one. I think Xerneas switched to being from being like the numero uno like big busted Pokemon in 2016 and even 2019 to now with Dynamax. Like Xerneas is a Pokemon that like you don't actually have enough resources to check a Xerneas team in best of one. A good Xerneas player can weave things around, steal that Geomancy turn, and if you misplay one turn against a Xerneas player, you are going to lose. So let's just go into this and show what I did. Mad Hatter's talking about how they went with Yveltal in the first place because of Oblivion Wing. Not actually sure how to fix what I got. So as far, I've just been testing teams casually. There's nothing wrong with that. I think Yveltal's a cool Pokemon. I realistically think I don't bring Yveltal that much. Yveltal's a cool Pokemon, but a lot of the things that like Yveltal would do, something like a Mandibuzz would do just as well. It's a, Pokemon that doesn't take ground type damage. They can use Foul Play and like, and potentially have like restoration moves like Roost or Oblivion Wing, maybe even using Snarl. Like Mandibuzz can do that. A Pokemon that's not a restricted can actually do that, right? So it's the Yveltal, like you see me, I don't actually use my Yveltal a super lot. I use it to like bluff and condition them and to bring I use it to condition their Lecky, right? To saying like, hopefully they bring a Lecky so I can actually do what I want in this game. So we're going to lock in and like Calyrex Xerneas, it's super, super best of one tech. Like I realistically don't think you'd see this team anywhere past like a round 1 or 2 at a regional or like an internats. But in terms of like an international challenge where everything is just best of one ladder, this is a really, really cool team to see. Like, I want to drive this home that I'm not taking anything away from what this team's doing. This is exactly how you should be playing a tournament like this. Is like going all in and giving your opponent so many options. Because not only do I have to respect Fake Out Zern, I have to respect Redirection Zern, but also like Redirection Cali and like Helping Hand Expanding Force Cali. Like, there's so many different best of one situations that need to be covered for right off the bat, and I don't know their items or how they want to play it, that it's almost impossible to beat a team like this in a best of one situation. They know for a fact that they're going to win best of one. So against Swampert Xerneas, like the best thing that I can probably do is like think about Eerie Impulsing the Xerneas, letting them get the Geo, but trading that for the Eerie Impulse, which is super nice. And just going for like a good old-fashioned Wormwind into the Swampert. Because realistically, if using a board that's like Xerneas and Calyrex, you're probably maxing something else. You're probably not maxing the Xerneas. You're probably not maxing the Cali. You're probably going to max your Swampert and just go for big max Quakes because I'm giving you such good targets for it. Never seen Mandibuzz being used. You actually think it could be usable? Definitely. Anyone that played in 2017 knows the power of Mandibuzz. Same thing works for 2019, 2018. Mandibuzz has been good. Mandibuzz is one of those Pokemon that kind of like, I'm not going to say breaks the game, but makes the game incredibly boring. And it's just like a bunch of Taunt, Snarl, Roost, Foul Play stuff. It plays exactly like I like to play Yveltal. So Mandibuzz is very usable. Didn't realize how tanky Grimmsnow and Amoonguss were, especially Amoonguss. Not a lot of tanky grass types. There's actually a good amount of tanky grass types that are just not really used in these formats. So we see the Max Swampert, just like I said would happen, and I actually make a really good play at this first turn. I make a great play at the first turn of this game and the second turn of this game. Actually, I play really well in this game. You already know what's going to happen. I'm going to lose, right? But I play really well for like 99.6% of the turns in this game. So we go for the Wormwind and the Eerie Impulse. Obviously, Eerie Impulse gets blocked, and we do over half to the Swampert. That's a lot of damage, and we get the attack chop, which means if they're physical Swampert, they're going to be doing so much less with this Max Quake, which we're going to see here. They're physical Swampert. They do so much less with this Max Quake. We're in a really, really good spot, and they waste it into the Dialga. It's only going to do like a third. That's not that much at all. Remember, I will not be able to KO that Swampert now that it has a Max Quake boost. So, obviously, in my mind, I can just go into the Xerneas and stick Max Steel Spikes, which is super, super nice. I can go Volt Switch into Xerneas because I know they're probably just going to switch the Xerneas out so they don't lose it to a Max Steel Spike. Even if you were to Geomancy here, you take a Volt Switch before you Geode, so do about 40%. And then even if you Geode, Max Steel Spike would still KO. So you have to switch right? Which means you're going to be foddering him on, and I get to pivot my Alecki, which is so good. Like, again, I'm playing this super, super well. Super well. I'm thinking about going with Insane because I have the Shucka to block the Max Quake, or if you want to go for like a Max Geyser, like, you know, Cresselia would be the better play. I think I just go with the Cresselia because I don't want to get a second Max Quake boost on the Swampert, and I decided to go with the Cresselia here. Cresselia comes out, and we go with a Max Steel Spike, which is going to give the Dialga even more value versus that Swampert, and our Cresselia a +1 defense boost in case we need it later on in the game. So it's pretty nice to give Cresselia those early game boosts. So we KO their Alecki, right? Their Xerneas still doesn't want to come out versus this very much. And, like, the Swampert's left high and dry, wasting one of its max turns on Max Quake. So, like, again, we're really, really doing okay here. But the thing about Xerneas is the best of 1 teams are super, super good at stealing those turns, right? They're super, super good at stealing those, the max turns with Xerneas. So they're just trying to wait out my last max turn on this Dialga, which is the right play. Obviously, I do have to check this Cresselia. I should realistically, like, 100%, I should probably just go for, like, I should just double into the Swampert. I should just double into the Swampert and ignore this Cali, because I have Alecki in the back, and I have, like, I think Incin in the back, and I'd probably be able to win if I did that. You know, hindsight 2020, that's why it's a good idea to review your replays. But I think I just double into the Cali slot and stick a attack drop on this Swampert. Obviously, we can soak an Astral with our Cresselia because we're built different. And we just go for the Wormwind and I think an Icy Wind to make sure that our rest of our monsters on our team outspeed the Swampert. And I will say, I do hit this Icy Wind, which is very, very nice for me. But, you know, it is what it is. They're basically going to bring out the Xerneas, and I'm going to be caught in a situation where, like, fuck, I can't stop the Geo. You know? And this is what they set up. They actually had to super outplay me to do this, so, like, really, really good play by our opponents. And, again, I really want to state this, like, it's hard to pull a fast one on me. It is hard to pull a fast one on me, and it's this play right here. It's this play right here where they go for the Geyser that outplays me. I thought they were going to Max Quake. I thought they were going to Max Quake our Dialga and do, like, 25%. How the game's going, yo? The game's going okay. They're going absolutely good. It says okay. But, yeah, that Geyser, so amazing. Can we actually give a shout-out to Pokesports, by the way? Guys, for you guys who don't know, this actually is the best place on YouTube. You can probably find a link to their YouTube on their Twitch channel to use rental codes. Oh my gosh, they make so many good rental codes. Let's give that good shout out up. If I can actually do that correctly. That's my shout out. Oh my gosh. I'm the worst person. I actually should always make sure my mods are online when I have to do this. There we go. Did it work? It'll work in like 2 seconds. If it didn't work. Aha, got it. It worked. Yeah, got it. There you go. Go check out some of their content. They make really, really good stuff. And I know they were streaming their games earlier, so go check out their content to watch. They're running the IC as well. But, yeah. I really, really liked that Max Geyser on our Crest, because my plan was actually to let them get Geo and just Moonlight. Right? That was my plan. I was going to let them get Geo, KO their Swampert, Moonlight, and then Cresselia would 1v1 their Zern after a mixture of, like, Icy Winds and Electro Webs. My plan was to, like, just start Calm Mining after my Moonlight and then use, sorry, not Electro Webs, Eerie Impulse. I was just going to Eerie Impulse their Zern, make it just a neutral Zern, and then Cresselia would wall it. And it was such a good play to turn off my Moonlight. And again, this is a person who went basically undefeated on day 1 because I'm playing these games, like, right after the tournament started. So really, really, really good play from our opponent to go for the Geyser, even though it didn't even do any damage, right? It didn't do, like, any damage, but it basically turned Cresselia off from being useful in this game, and it almost made Cresselia into a liability. Because I still need to take out the damn Swampert, right? They go for a Moonblast, takes out our Dialga. We didn't have any switch-ins. We have Alecki and Incin in the back. So great play from them. And we go for an Icy Wind, which is actually really tech. I like the Icy Wind a lot because it makes our Cresselia faster than the Xerneas. But, you know, it is what it is. They probably thought they could still almost KO our Crest here, which is why I think they go for the Liquidate in the rain. But they do not get it, and they take the Rocky Helmet damage, which puts them in range, right? Puts them within range for any of our Pokemon to finish off. So it's such a hard sell here. We have to go Incin. And in this situation, like realistically, I would have already been moonlighting out, right? I'd be just moonlighting till the cows come home here. But yeah, that rain just really makes this hard. So Fake Out won't kill the Swampert. Lariat will kill the Swampert, but if we go for like the Icy Wind Lariat to mitigate what the Xerneas does and they go Wide Guard, we basically just lose. Do you consider any other items for Crest? No, the Crest was actually built around using the Rocky Helmet to check Zacian. So actually the reason why we even consider Crest is because we consider Rocky Helmet first. So maybe that's an example of like me limiting my options a little bit, but I do think that like Rocky Helmet Crest is very good for things like Zacian and Incin. So you can actually beat Incin with just Cresselia, which is kind of nutty. So we realistically have to just double into the Swampert in case they wanted to, well, you'll see what we do here. They go for the Wide Guard, and I realistically should have just killed the Swampert. I should have just killed it. I should have just killed the Swampert. I go for the Moonlight, and at this point, like, I'm floundering because, like, that was such a good play that I'm definitely caught off track with what I want to do. I should have just killed the Swampert, and then I should have just went, like, Parting Shot, Psychic, did, like, 35% of the Zern, get my Parting Shot up, let them get a Geo, and then they'd only be at +1, and then I come back out, Fake Out Electro Web, they'd be at -1, and then I'd win the game with Crest. After waiting out the rain, I could have won this game. I will say that I could have definitely won this game, but you can see, like, that's something that's really hard to figure out in, like, a 30-second, you know, move timer, or 40-second, or whatever, how long I have. What does Wide Guard do? It stops all forms of AoE damage, so things like Icy Winds, things like Electro Webs, things like Water Spouts, Precipice Blades. It stops me from using those. And at this point, I kind of just double into the Swampert because I think they're going to go after my Cresselia, and I'm definitely overplaying them just Moonblasting, right? Or going for like a Dazzling Gleam. And so I have to double into the Swampert because I don't know if Cresselia's even faster than that Xerneas. And I kind of just misplay the crap out of this game. Like, I really do just misplay it super hard. Super hard misplay. I could have, like, definitely won this one if I didn't go for that heal that turn. It's just that I got a little bit low. I was only at 10 HP. And I think it's an honest mistake to make in terms of, like, our opponent is a team that's, like, finally tuned for best of 1. They're used to playing these situations. And, like, I'm definitely not. In terms of, like, this is, like, my third game with this team. And so you can see the Zern. Imagine if the Zern took about 30% more than that to go to about half. Because, like, Psychic would have done that much because it would have hit before the Geo. And then we would also still have the Incin to, like, do whatever moves in this situation. And then bring on the Lecky and have the Sash. And, like, yeah, I totally threw this one. I definitely threw it. But I think it's a good idea to still, like, talk about these games. Because, you know, it just shows you guys how to not throw in these situations. But you can definitely tell that they basically get the win. I go for the Parting Shot. I probably should have went for a Flare Blitz and tried to get a burn, realistically. But there's nothing I can realistically do in this situation. I bring the Lucky, and my only real out here is to crit, right? My only real out here is to crit. And actually, that Xerneas at +1 still actually outspeeds my Lucky if they have heavy speed investment, which I'm assuming it does. So we actually still have to Electro Web first and then Volt Switch. And they are going to get the... Sorry, we're not going to get the crit. I apologize for not letting you guys know that we don't get the crits. We're going to go 2-1. But I do think that, like, that guy played really well. So it's crazy how a match can turn. You seem to have control for the majority of it. Yeah, I had one sloppy turn. You have one sloppy turn versus Xerneas team and you lose. And the thing is, this was hyped up to, like, over 9,000 back when Xerneas was in every single team back in 2016 and 2019. Xerneas used to be everywhere. And if they got that one turn where they flipped the Geo on you, you just lost, right? And that's one of the reasons why, like, I do like that Xerneas is a lot harder to use and less prevalent now, because it does make the game healthier. Because you can see how, like, I shouldn't have lost this game. I literally had one turn where the turn that I made was still kind of, like, okay. It was, like, suboptimal. It wasn't perfect. One turn out of, like, the 10 turns, right? And I just got fucking rolled, right? So it is what it is. But, you know, that's what happens when you play against people that are, like, fully optimized for best of 1. You have to dictate, like, a lot of resources to, like, over-respecting what people are using. And you kind of just lose to it. Gen 8 Xerneas was painful. Gen 7, yeah. Gen 7 and Gen 6 Xerneas was, like, definitely painful. And so, like, I'm happy that, like, we're at a point where we actually have the tools to deal with Xerneas. And one of the biggest tools to deal with Xerneas is Zacian. Like, realistically, the fact that this team went... I think this actually probably went undefeated on day one. I would not be surprised if this team, with this player, is in the top 5 or top 10 right now, considering they're going to be in, like, the 1660s or maybe even the 1700s with this team. It means they didn't lose any games, even against, like, Zacians and stuff. So, they played super well. Remember that name. They're going to probably be the person that wins the whole freaking tournament, you know? So, it is what it is. We take the L. Really good play from our opponent. If I were to mix things up for game 2, I'd just play my Cresselia just a little bit better. And the cool thing is, though, they had such high points that I don't actually lose that many points. I lost, like, 12 instead of losing, like, 15 or 16. Yo, what is up? What is up, my friend? So we're 2-1, and I feel like I'm playing pretty good. Again, these are my first 3 games with this team, and I think it's pretty good. Remember the Gen 6, 7 Zern days, you would have just had to build teams just to stop its Geo. And that's the thing, is like you used to have to tech a bulky Hazemon, or like use like a knockoff Mon, like back in the day when everything got knockoff. You used to tech knockoff with some weird shit. Like, knockoff Scarf Landed was super common just for Zerns. You go fake out its teammate, knock off its power herb, and then double into it. Right? But good thing is, we get a free game this time. This guy does have 2 restricteds, and one of them's a Lugia, which is kind of crazy. But we're in a great spot here. This guy's like pretty low ranked, so we're fine. But now Zacian is the new Xerneas. I think Zacian is the new Xerneas for the most part. We live reviewing? Definitely live reviewing. I already played these games. I got no hands here. I'm thinking about it, though. Like, Reshiram... First of all, the rule of thumb, whenever you're playing a team like this one, is if your opponent does not have a ground type, you should probably think about bringing your Regieleki. Just because you can, like, Eerie Impulse a lot of stuff. Eerie Impulse is super underrated. And it's the thing that allows things like Cresselia, Dialga, and Yveltal to thrive. Another thing is you can, like, Electroweb things. You can do so many cool things. Also, you can, like, hit things like Lugia for super effective. So it's very, very nice. Like, Aleki's very, very good here. You don't necessarily want to lead with it, but it's great to have in the back. And so our Cresselia set that's, like, heavy HP defense can be super mitigated on the specialty side, you know, on its weakness by the fact that we can have an Aleki with Electro, which is super, super good. Why don't we just actually pause this game and, like, show you what I'm going to do here. So, I'm thinking about the Aleki. I'm thinking about the Incin. If I don't bring this Aleki... that whole argument that I just made falls apart. But, like, Aleki's good. Incin's also very good. I'm really thinking about this Aleki. Holy moly. Bring Aleki, me. Come on, do it. No, don't do it. Go back to Aleki. Go back to Aleki. Come on. Incin's good for, like, the mid-game fake-out. But, like, you should just bring the Aleki here. Come on, please. Please. Please past me from, like, 6 hours ago. Bring this Aleki. No. No, go back. Go back to use Aleki. Come on. I just got done talking about it. I guess the only reason why I might not use Aleki in this situation is because they have a Dragapult, which has Clear Body, and that's probably the reason that I decided not to use it. Also with Wims, because with Wims Tailwinds, Aleki's like low-key useless, but like, still think Aleki would be good here. Do you think taking Cresselia is a little outdated because of the weather control? So like, talk about the weather control. Like, if it's a Kyogre, you can just wall the Kyogre. If you can get up your Calm Mind before Kyogre, Cresselia just walls it out. Even you can restore your 33% with Moonlight in the rain, but after the Calm Mind, you're good to go. If it's against Sun, you restore, you know, the 1.5 healing in the Sun, so you just win. You know, it's easy. Like, Sun is the matchup you want it for. So, anyways, this guy leads Dracovish Rilla, and I really like how they played this turn 1. If you were this opponent, what I would do is fake out the Grim and double into the Grim to stop screens. And then I'd trade my Dracovish and then bring out something that pins Dialga. That's what I would do if I were them. Because obviously you're going to lose your Dracovish turn to Dialga. But what they're trying to do here, I really, really like this from them. They're actually going to go with a fake out into my Dialga to stop Trick Room. Which I think is super cool. I think that's super cool, and shoutouts to, like, at least one person in the whole freaking universe respecting the fact that I can go fake out Trick Room. Like, I like that. They're trying to stop Trick Room, which is, like, thank you for respecting my ability to actually do that, you know? No one respects the Trick Room on this team. No one does. And, Obviously, I don't even go for it, but like, thank you for like falling for the bait that this team never seems to get away with. So we switch in the Cresselia. The reason we switching with Cresselia is because like we didn't want to just get dumpstered by like fake out nuke on our Grim. And obviously we knew we were going to take a Fisher's run on that slot no matter what. And just didn't want to have to like die to it. Cresselia is bulky enough to not die to it. So Cresselia switches in, KO the Dracovish, and like in this situation, it's not just that we KO Dracovish. We KO Dracovish, and then the Wormwind sticks a -1 on the Rilla, which really makes Rilla not work anymore. Rilla's like a wet noodle that we can ignore for the rest of the matchup. So that's really, really cool. So Dialga, and also they set the healing, so it's really, really nice. How's it going? It's going absolutely flawless, yo. It's going absolutely flawless. I'm having a good time. Having a good time, having a good time. And we see the Reshiram here. So, like, Reshiram's a cool mon. It can also outspeed the Dialga. They both have a 90 base speed. So if you don't have heavy speed investment, you can outspeed Dialga. You can stick a Wormwind. You can stick a Max Flare. You can stick a Max Quake. Those are all good. But I'm pretty sure I can OHKO you. Because, like, you take super effective damage from a Max Wormwind. I take neutral damage. And I'm good. Right? So all I gotta do is just, like, stick this Wormwind. And we're probably good. Worst case scenario, I have to rely on the max, not max, but like the Icy Wind to like finish you off. I'm assuming you're either vested or orbed, which means we're still in a really good spot here. Your Rilla is like pretty neutered, and after this turn, it's going to be even more neutered because we're going to be going for a second Max Wormwind into it. Is Dracovish any good in this format? I think Dracovish is definitely worth using. So are things like Torkoal, because they're Pokemon that can take KOs on Maximons without having to max themselves. They have enough, you know, damage multipliers. Like Dracovish can like stab it, Fishes run its own multiplier, plus things like Strong Jaw. Those damage multipliers are pretty big, and they can allow them to take KOs on Maximons without having to max themselves. So it's same thing with like Urshifu, very, very good mon. But it's definitely team dependent. So we go for the big Wormwind, and they protect Rilla, which is absolutely fine. I don't have to care about that thing. And it's just going to take a second attack drop. And you're going to see they do get the Quake, which is the right play. They're trying to get this Spadef boost to not die to the Dialga. And again, the cool thing about this team, I would say it's really kind of hard to play this team because you have to walk a fine line. Like, we get pretty close to getting crit a lot of these times. We have to soak just a little bit of damage. But you can see, we're out of the 2-shot range. They have to 3-shot us with those max moves. And, like, we almost get the 1-shot, even though they made the right play. All I got to do is hit this Icy Wind. If I hit this Icy Wind, it's neutral damage from my Cresselia, which is an 85 base special attack, and I will just dumpster your Reshiram. Of course I missed the Icy Wind. Yo, whenever lucky. I know I said if I get 1 sub, I won't miss, but like I actually played this game like 6 hours ago. So, or whatever, how many hours, like 10 hours ago. So I did miss already, but I won't miss anymore, I promise. In this case scenario though, and it also sucks is like we didn't stick the speed boost, the speed drop. Like it's really, really bad. Because even if we didn't get the KO, we would have dropped the speed drop and we would have been fine. We could have just psychicked. But like in this case scenario, they still outspeed and they got a Grassy Drain tick. I have to waste a max turn here, Max Garden to block a Max Quake. They could have just nuked my Cresselia. That could have went all bad. And they went with a double into the Dialga. Not going to work. And we just take those wins with Psychic. Big stab move. We take those all the way to the bank. And Reshiram goes down. You say Drake should probably be banned if Gastro didn't exist? I don't think so. Mons don't really get banned in VGC. Like, you can't really think of like a Mon that's just randomly banned that's not like some sort of mythical Pokemon. It's like a Pokemon like Regieleki would be banned way before something like a Dracovish would. So you have to bring in the Dragapult here. Things like Phantom Force are problematic. It's not really the end of the world, though. Like, we have all the tools to deal with this. We're not at full, but, like, we have the tools. We just basically need to double into the Dragapult slot, and we're good to go. There's not that much they can realistically do about it. They wasted their Max and their Reshiram. They didn't bring their other Maxmon. The other Restricted, so we're fine. They go for the big Protects Rillaboom. They keep weaving that in, and like, this thing is such a wet noodle. They go for a Fire Blast. They missed. It's completely fair because I missed an Icy Wind. We hit the biggest roar time the world's ever seen. And remember, we doubled up into it with a Psychic exactly, just in case we, you know, would have missed and they were sashed. So we wanted to take that Dialga. Sorry, we wanted to take that Dragapult out. So Dragapult down for the count. And then the Grassy Train's like restored more health for us than it has for them. And we basically just win. Easy peasy. Let's update the win counter here. We're at 3-1. We're doing okay. We're at a 75% win rate. Not 4-3. 3-1. 75% win rate. Not bad. Not bad. Maybe not professional Pokemon player, that's +1 level, but like we're doing okay. We're doing okay. 75%. Considering our one loss was someone who I think is like in the top 10, I think that's pretty good. And just gonna wait and see what our next game looks like. I think our next game is versus Lunala, which is a great matchup for us. Like, I know there's a lot of Lunalas and Lugias that people are teching for this event, and that's why this team is such a good meta call for this event. Chatot was way too OP back then, so I had to get banned. Chatot was different. It was banned for, like, you know, its chat move, whatever that, like, chatter move, was able to be used with profanities, and that's why it was banned. But you can see, Yveltal Lunala, and I think this is a great matchup for us. One cool thing about this team is you're going to see, again, I have the Yveltal on my team, and I just don't bring it. We use it to bait them, condition them to bring the Xurkitree, and we just super punish the Xurkitree. We're absolutely fine. Like, we do not need Yveltal. Like, I'm thinking about it. Like, people are like, that's a Lunala. You have to bring Yveltal to fight it. And I'm like, I don't gotta do shit. You know, I don't have to. I'm thinking about it though. Do I go back to the Lunala? No. I think I bring the Yveltal in the next matchup because there's no Xurkitree. But like, I'm not bringing my Yveltal to fight Xurkitree. I don't care. I don't even care. Like, I'm not doing that. I respect Xurkitree way too much to bring Yveltal to fight that Pokemon. Because if I just lose the Yveltal to the Xurkitree, we lose the game. You also, in this situation, have to respect the ability for them to be like Indeedee. Indeedee's a big issue. But if they go like Indeedee Lunala, like Grim is a really good max option, which is not something people tend to think about. If I max my Grim, we actually have a good matchup versus all 6 of those Pokemon, believe it or not. Because Gmax News can go for the sleeps and stuff like that. It can KO the Indeedee. It can KO the Lunala. It can put sleeps on things like Xurkitree and Yveltal. So it's actually a really good max option. But if they don't go with the Indeedee, and if they don't lead with it, it's probably not coming. If they open up with like a Whims Xurkitree or a Whims Yveltal or a Whims Lunala, we're actually super like ahead for the fact that we actually brought Grim in this situation. How are the games? They're going good. We're 3-1. And they don't open up with the Indeedee. The Gambit actually ends up working. Even though it wasn't that much of a Gambit, we already talked about what we would do in each situation. We would have probably just maxed our Grim and just like flash cannoned out versus a lot of the different things. And so in this situation, we have an absolutely free turn. Note that we don't even have to like max our Dialga. We just have a free turn. We can just save our max turns. We can soak any damage the Xurkitree wants to do. Realistically, if it were to Dazzling Gleam, it's not going to KO our Grim. It's not going to do that much damage to our Dialga. And if they were to Volt Switch into Grim, it's not going to get the KO, and it's going to potentially show their item. That being Scarf, potentially, or like a Life Orb or something like that. So they do a lot of damage. They show the Life Orb, which means no Sash there, which means probably Sash on Winds, which we already fake out. And it is what it is. Yeah, I say Xurkitree not great, sadly. I think Xurkitree is a good mon. I think Xurkitree is definitely worth respecting. That's about as much as it gets. It's definitely worth respecting. Mason says, personally, I prefer singles because VGC has its moments, but most of the time it's either win or lose in the first turn. I agree. Singles has a lot more comeback mechanics. It does have a lot more comeback mechanics. I like that they switched out the Xurkitree to block the Max Quake because they're like, crap, he didn't even max the Dialga. They're either thinking I'm going to Trick Room or they're thinking I'm going to Max Quake. So I like that they tried to bring in the Yveltal there. And then realistically, I didn't set Trick Room, so you're good to come back out with something you want. But like, it is what it is. Sad they took away Tail Glow. No Tail Glow, please. Please, no thank you. And so you got double restricted board. You have a double restricted board versus me that has a 0 restricted board. Or sorry, a 1 restricted board that hasn't maxed yet. So it's hard, but I don't think it's unwinnable. I think if we can save this Grim in the back, we're probably going to be able to win the game. So I think I switch Grim out here. I don't think there's a reason to drop the Lunala stats. I think I just want to save it. Do I save it or I just go for the speed drop? That's a greedy speed drop. But actually, no, the speed drop's the right play. If I drop the speed in the Lunala, because remember, they haven't maxed it. We don't know if they're maxing Yveltal or Lunala. We want to let them think they can max Dialga and then, like, Power Gem with Lunala, but then they waste their Power Gem, and then we pin the Lunala with Incin, and then we don't care that their Yveltal's maxed because we have Incin and Lecky and Dialga versus Yveltal. So them maxing this Yveltal wins us the game. Yeah, it doesn't get tail go with this gen, which is, I think, fair. I think that's fair, right? So we're going to max the big Dialga. I like that we delayed our max for a full turn. Not that we were really going to use any defense investments here. And we're just going to do our best to break this Lunala Shadow Shield, I think. I think we Max Quake into it because Max Quake good versus both of those mods. And we just want to set up for something like Incin, or maybe even if they, play it incorrectly, something like Grimmsnarl to pin next turn. Like if they wanted to go all in and like max Darkness or Dialga or something like that, we're fine. So when all the speed gets dropped, remember, you can't hit the Yveltal, it's a dark type. They go for the Airstream, which does get the KO, which is fine. Like, I do not care about this. I will say about this game. Note that I dropped that Lunala speed by 1, but then the Airstream, so it's, sorry, I dropped it by 2, but then the Airstream, which made it only a drop of 1. If they were actually to Airstream again this next turn, they would be outspeeding anything that I bring in. Right? I want to let you understand that. Because I think I bring in Incin here, which is a bit of a weird situation. They actually go for Cosmic Power, which I'm not going to lie, that's scary. That's a Pokemon that, like, can get out of hand. I do not like to see that. So, if I bring in a Lecky here, their Yveltal at +1 outspeeds. Don't like that. Not a big fan. I have to go Incin. And note that we didn't see leftovers on Lunala, which means it is Power Herb, which means if they were to just if they were to Airstream with this Yveltal and Power Gem my Incin, they'd probably win because I wouldn't be able to kill the Lunala with a Wormwind here. And I would have to lose my Incin to do it. So in this case scenario, right, I want to just state that if they Airstream here, they do win. But they do not understand what our Incin's speed stat is. Our Incin's speed stat is like straight next level broken. It's over 100 points. I'm not going to say how many it is, but it's well over 100 points. And so they're probably thinking that their -1 they're probably thinking that their -1 Lunala outspeeds an Incin, because Lunala's a 97 base speed Pokemon. Even if you take one speed stat away, it still outspeeds base Incin. It still outspeeds like 20 speed Incin. I think it still outspeeds like 40 in speed Incin. We're like well over 100 points in our Incin, so we can fake out the fake out users. So we know that we're gonna get this Max Quake and would give ourselves a Spadef boost, because Dialga's a 90 speed Pokemon, so it's definitely gonna go first. But then you see that our Incin still outspeeds the Lunala. They could have just went for the Airstream into our Incin. They could have doubled into the Incin that slot and not try to go for the Max Nuck, which is obviously boosted off of Focus Blast. So, again, they didn't understand just how, built different we were. And I'll take those. And then we see their Circuitry come back out. And, like, at this point, we're just in a great spot. Like, they can't break the Dialga anymore. And we can just Parting Shot, bring in the Lecky and win the game. But it is what it is. I think Lunala is a good Pokemon. I think it's a good Pokemon. I think Cosmic Power is a little bit too reactive. Cosmic Powers with like recovery options to be able to recap your Shadow Shields, very, very cool, because those Cosmic Powers stack with like your Shadow Shield ability, making you take reduced damage at full, which means if you have like leftovers, you might be able to get to a point where even moves, like if you're like +3 or 4, when people hit you with something, they don't even break your leftovers ticks, which is really, really cool. Making your moves Electro with Electrify does more damage than soaking the enemy and hitting with Electric type moves for a Pokemon that Electric type moves aren't stab. It depends on the exact situation. Like, I'm trying to think of the situation that you're thinking of. I think either way, no matter what you're trying to think of, with like either Electrify and or Soak, your moves are probably just going to do better damage if you use like better restricted Pokemon and better Pokemon in general, right? All the cool Stoke strats with like Inteleon, they're not nearly as good as like just using a good restricted legendary like Zacian or Yveltal or something, or Groudon or Kyogre. And all the Electrify strats that come with like things like, is that Heliolisk and a couple other Pokemon, they're not going to be as they're going to get pinned by Fake Out. So they're not going to be valuable. So you can see though in this situation, we are definitely going to be able to get the big win versus the Yveltal. Look at this. And so like, I don't know anything about this Yveltal set. I'm thinking it's vested because it showed Focus Blast. But in this situation, you're going to see him actually miss a Focus Blast amount, but it's not like a KO. I used 2 Quakes. And even if he got the KO here, Lecky just double taps. You can see it right here. Lecky just obviously double taps there. And we have Sash, so we're fine. So it's unfortunate for them to take a focus miss, but like it obviously didn't matter. And we go to 4-1. So 4-1, that's like an 80% win rate. Is that 80? We had a 75 before, and now I think we have an 80. Yeah, we have an 80% win rate. So pretty good. I'd say pretty good win rate. You know, we're doing all right. 80% is definitely, you know, a professional level, I would say. In terms of like, these are my first 5 games with this team. I think it's doing all right. And we should take the flash cam. We don't need anything else. Yeet. And then we go to, we have one more game. We have one more game. This is the last game that I played with this team for day 1. And it's going to be a pretty cool game, I would say. Pretty cool game. Hopefully you guys, your games are going good as well. And here we go. What do you guys think we're going to fight? 1548. Our record's pretty good for like only like 5 games played, I would say. Normally you want to get to 1600 at the end of day 1, but we only played like 6 games. So 1544. I don't want to take too many points from other people. 1544 is a good rating. And we see another Lunala. This is Lunala Dom, which is a team that actually did pretty well in the Germany Internats. And Thundy is, I would realistically say Thundy is the worst matchup for this team. And I actually used like similar examples of fighting like with Grim Dialga and like a bulkier board versus Thundy teams. Thundy is a very, very, very hard matchup. I'm just going to say it. Thundy is a super freaking hard matchup because it has the Defiant, which means you get intimidated, which means if you were to stick like a speed drop to it from a Scary Face or like a Fake Tears, it's going to get the boost and it's going to hit super hard. It's good against your Yveltal. It can max quake your Dialga. Thundy is a hard matchup. And so that's why I'm deciding to just end this here with this game. Thundy is freaking hard. But the good thing about Thundy is if they max the Thundy, they can't max the Groudon. Right, so that's pretty important. Just Scary Face Foul Play, it doesn't one-shot. It doesn't one-shot. I thought about that already. It doesn't actually one-shot against max Thundys. If they max it, it doesn't die. It would KO if the Yveltal was the one with the black glasses, but it's not. The Grim is. So, yeah, they actually live at about 10% if you do that. If they're built correctly, right? If they're built correctly, they're going to live at about 10%. So, I think that Grim Dialga is still a better lead because what you can do is you can like mix like in fake out Trick Rooms and then Trick Room stuff. So we see in this game, they're not going to let us get the fake out up. But watch the flow chart that we go through here. You say Webb's Foul Play KOs? Webb's loses the fake out in Sin, right? Webb's loses the fake out in Sin. So it's not like the best matchup. Like in Sin can fake out the Grim, and then we can't Scary Face and or do anything weird, and then like we lose, right? Again, this is a very good team. So we're trying the Fake Tears again. If they just want to open up like hit the Grim and like Parting Shot to try and get an early lead, I'm not letting them do that. So I'm going to try the Fake Tears play. And like, if they let me get away with that, I'll take it. Because if we get the Fake Tears into the Thundy, even if they're vested and they go to -2, we hit before the instant Parting Shots and we're good. Still haven't used Grim in this format. Grim is the glue that holds Ho-Oh Dialga together, I think. I think it's the glue that makes that team actual work. And our team is basically the same idea as Grim Dialga. Or sorry, a Ho-Oh Dialga. So they're obviously going to max the Thundy. And there's a couple cool things that we do in this exact situation. So we're baiting the fake out, but we're baiting the fake out on like a couple different slots. I could have actually just fake out of the Incin and Trick Roomed, but I didn't want to Trick Room because that would make the Incin slower than the Dialga, and then they could just Parting Shot my Dialga and I'd be sad, right? And I could potentially miss a KO if they were vested Thundy. So I didn't want to do that. I'm opening up with just giving the Thundy his Defiant boost. I'm just going to give it to him. He can freaking have it. I do not need it. I'm going to trade that Defiant boost for soaking a little bit of damage and getting a Steel Spike boost after it's dead next turn. So they get the Fake Out up, which is nice, right? And they go for the Lightning, which is like the most amount of damage they can actually do, which is fine. We're not going to die to that, which is, again, it sucks they hit our Grim, and they're probably hoping that they'd KO it, but remember, our Grim is full 252 Impish with like 156 points in HP. They show their Orb, which is exactly what I want to see. And we stick the Wormwind, which makes them go to +1, which is like, that's what they want. And like, they're in just a great spot here. but they're not in a great spot. They're not in a great spot. Because they're thinking like, I'm Thundy. You can't Thunder Wave me, bro. And I'm like, I don't need to Thunder Wave you. I can just stick a Steel Spike in you, get that boost for when the Groudon comes in, and just stick a Scary Face. And if you wanted to like max guard and you just waste your turns like that, you're the one that's wasting your turns as well as my turns, right? I'm always gonna be able to get away with this as a +1 into my Dialga and Grim. So it's really, really good. So we get that Scary Face, drop the speed. If they would have Airstream there, that could have got a little bit dicey. I'm not gonna lie, could have got a little bit dicey. I would have had to max guard Foul Play you. I would have, if I would have wanted to, right? But and it is what it is. Because, like, I would assume you would go into the Dialga after, like, the Defiant proc. I would assume. But anyways, we get the KO with the Thundy, which is a really, really hard matchup. And it's definitely, like, a skill-based, hard situation to deal with. So we take those, and Thundy goes down. You get the Parting Shot off. You're trading your max for a Parting Shot in Dialga. But I still have the Grim on the board, which is, like, that's the good Pokemon on my team. Like, that's fine. So we're able to get away with a lot of stuff here. And you can bring in the Lunala, but like remember, like half my team is dark types. So like go nuts with this Lunala. And I just want to say, you know how I always say never lucky? You know how I like always say never lucky? This is the one time in my life that I get lucky. This is the one time in my life where I get lucky. Are you ready to see me get lucky? I'm up all night. And I'm up all night to get lucky. And I'm thinking to myself, like, if I switch in the Instant and they Meteor Beam me, I lose. Right? I have no more Fake Out Pins for that Groudon, and I'm in for a bad time. But if you Meteor Beam my Yveltal, I might be able to win by bringing out Instant and then pinning you and then setting up Trick Room and winning the game. Right? So, the question is, and that's also assuming that they Meteor Beam my Grim. By the way, you shouldn't Meteor Beam my Grim, because if you Meteor Beam my Grim, you can't KO both my freaking Dark types in the back. Right? You can only KO one. Right? They do go for the Meteor Beam, which is, like, not correct. I will say right up, this is incorrect play. You get the boost, but, like, you won't be able to, like, even if I let you kill the Dialga, you wouldn't kill a mixture of, like, Yveltal and Sin with, like, Lunaludon. You wouldn't do it, even at the +1. So we get the Steel Spike in Lunala. That's just to break the Shadow Shield, and it's getting a defense boost on the Yveltal slot, which is why I switched it in. So Yveltal already has the defense boost for when Groudon comes in. And again, I don't think that Meteor Beam would have KO'd my Lunala. But, like, you can already tell what's going to happen. You already know that they miss. You already know that I get lucky and they fucking miss this Meteor Beam. Which, like, realistically has, like, about the same % chance to miss as a crit. So, this could have went either way. And they bring in the Urshi, which, like, I was like, fuck, it's not even Groudon. Like, they were fucking ready. They're ready to beat in Sin, right? Yeah, he misses the Meteor, right? So, it's like, and then we just win. You know, so it's like, I'll take it. I still got 4 Mons. Your Shadow Shield's broken. I know you got a Sash on Urshi, but, like, I'm thinking about how the safest way to, like, apply this is. But I do know that you miss, and I just win. So, the first time I've ever been lucky in my freaking life. Holy moly. So we'll take those all the way to the bank. And, yeah, we'll win.